When life hurts, this is Redeeming the Time Brothers podcast, a podcast by Gene Kissinger and Norman Kissinger, two brothers who spent their lives in ministry and raising large families. Our desire is to provide a digital place for those who long belong. And as always, we want to leave a nightlight on for that. Nightlight is out of the Old Testament wisdom literature, book of Job, chapter 2 and verse 10. Should we accept from God only good and not adversity? In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. You know, I've always found it interesting that we remember Job for his patience, but we rarely talk about his wife. She's gotten a bad rap over the years, but I think I understand her pain. She didn't just lose her stuff, she lost her children, every single one of them. Her world had collapsed, and in that moment of raw grief, she told her husband to curse God and die. Now, Job's response is remarkable. Are we going to take good from God's hand and refuse the difficult? Or the evil, it says in the King James, that's not resignation, that's perspective. Job understood something his wife had momentarily forgotten in her pain. God doesn't owe us an explanation for every hard thing that happens. Here's what I've learned, and I'm too soon old and too late smart about this, but when bad things happen to other people, we're pretty good at keeping perspective. Your friend's house gets broken into, you comfort them by saying it's just stuff. A child breaks their favorite toy, you remind them that these things happen. Somebody spills coffee on your friend, and we're quick to say it was just an accident. But when it happens to us, suddenly everything changes. Lost items become a tragedy. Broken toys feel like a personal attack. Spilled drinks ruin our whole day. We take it personally because it is personal. It's happening to us. And then we make ourselves miserable. Job knew something we often forget. Accepting only good from God while rejecting the difficult isn't faith, it's entitlement. Real faith trusts God in the blessings as well as in the trials. It doesn't mean we won't hurt or grieve or struggle. Job's wife was hurting deeply, and God understands our pain. But somewhere in that pain, we have to choose whether we're going to trust God's character even when we can't trace his hand. I think about Jesus, who suffered more than any of us ever will, and he did it voluntarily for our sake. When we're facing our own trials, remember his suffering for us helps us put things in perspective. He's not a distant God who doesn't understand pain. He entered into it completely or fully. And here's the truth. God has a purpose in our suffering that we may never fully understand this side of heaven. Sometimes suffering produces patience. Sometimes it produces compassion. Sometimes it produces a deeper dependence on God. So when life hurts, and it will, we have a choice. We can respond like Job's wife in a moment of pain, demanding that God explain himself, or we can respond like Job and trust him that his gifts are good, whether we see that or not. God bless you.